Appreciate you coming in this morning for the special meeting. The purpose of the meeting simply is to get your approval on filing an appeal or your direction on that, and it really wasn't to get into the deep substance of these issues because that will come back to you in January, February if you so desire. But there's a timing issue, and that's why unfortunately we had to meet today. I do understand from CAO, and Councillor Vandenberg's here by Zoom, I presume from Brights Grove or some special place where it's sunny. Yes, I do understand, Mr. Carter, that you do want to give staff want to give a brief presentation, and because we have some new members of council, so they can understand where we're at. So with that, I turn it over to you.
Through your worship to members of council, with thanks for hosting this special meeting this morning. We just wanted to provide some brief remarks for some context to the staff recommendation that is before council. Given the timing of this notice of decision from the county, staff are cognizant of ensuring council are provided with the opportunity to protect their interests in this process moving forward, as the appeal deadline itself is December the 29th of this year. The recommendation to appeal at this time can really be categorized as a friendly appeal by the city. It will ensure there's time to review the notice of decision in detail and be able to return to council in February with their legal options and next steps to move it forward. At the meeting in February, council can certainly give direction to withdraw an appeal, scope an issues list, among many options to consider. To file the placeholder appeal at this time with the Ontario Land Tribunal is about $1,100. Future costs of a hearing or further engagement in the process will certainly be provided as estimates to council at the recommended February meeting. Given the timing, this is really the only way for council to protect their interests and make an informed decision in February when staff can provide council with appropriate legal advice on their options and the different ways to consider to move forward.
Let me open it up for questions. There are other options, though, are there not? And I'm not happy with this, and I served a motion for those on county council back in September, asking that any municipality have the right to bump up the decision on the official plan to county council for a political decision. I think Councillor White alluded to the fact that right now it's a staff decision, which I don't think is appropriate, and I haven't for 20 years. And we went through this with the hospital, we've gone through with other zoning issues. So I guess one of the options I wonder if staff would look at is asking the county to open their official plan to look at other settlement areas, because I'm aware of issues in St. Clair, I'm aware of issues in Lambton Shore, and only our own area, so that the changes could happen at the county level. Are there any comments on that?
Through your worship to members of council, there's a wide range of options that absolutely can be sort of discussed, negotiated, or mediated through an appeal process. There's a number of different mechanisms and choices. Again, all of those options, it would be best if council or staff were able to come back to council as part of that list of options and items to consider to move things forward in February.
Can I ask to add to that list? Because I understand one of the options is for the those for the proponents is to go to the province and ask them to look at a ministerial zoning order for the area.
Through your worship to members of council, there are a number of different tools within the Planning Act that do allow a political decision to be made at the ministerial level, and in fact a new tool that's come out recently as well. And again, staff would greatly appreciate the time to come back and provide those
I just want to make sure those options are going to come back to us. Any other comments or questions before I look for a motion? Councillor Burrell?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. A couple. I had asked briefly, what is the expected cost, first of all, for just this appeal as opposed to the more formal one that may or may not happen in February or whatever? And first of all, who do we appeal this to?
Through your worship to members of council, the appeal goes technically to the county, but it is to the Ontario Land Tribunal, which is what the old original OMB, the Ontario Municipal Board, is currently called. And the cost for this appeal today to file the placeholder appeal will be $1,100.
Okay. Now, in the there's really, to me, there were two types of issues. One was a bigger issue with regards to the addition to our settlement lands, and I understand that one, but I didn't quite understand the questions of repeal with regards to technical issues on sort of disagreements between our planners and the county planners. Can we have a little more clarification on that? Is it kind of the difference between this and this, or is it the difference between doctors differ and patients die? You know, like where does it kind of fit in the spectrum of things in terms of those technical differences? I'm not addressing the land increase, but just those technical issues that you're saying are not correct or whatever.
Through your worship to members of council, when we reviewed the notice after it was issued, there are some challenges just in terms of the language. Again, staff are not contesting the direction of the county at all. We are the lower tier and the county has the right to make those decisions. There, however, are some challenges with the numbering that was produced and some of the transfer of where they directed a modification and what actually needs to happen in the plan to make it happen. Again, this would also provide staff some time to work through those details with the county to make sure that ultimately the plan as directed is implementable. So again, going back to that language, this is really a friendly appeal given the timing and gives opportunity for everybody to work through those options and come back to council.
So those technical issues are still things that can be negotiated between the city and the county. They aren't necessarily the finer points of law that have to be settled by whoever. So they can still be negotiated. Is what you're saying?
Through your worship to members of council, yes, through that appeal process, they can be addressed.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got Councillor Dennis, Councillor Gillis.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley. I spoke with Bob Billy on the weekend, and he assured me of his support. And I have no problem making or asking for a resolution of council to ask for an order from the minister, Stephen Clark.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. I do think, not to sort of keep this on track, is to put all that into the mix for the January, February report so you can see all your options. And you may want to do multiple, including that one. So if I could just, because this really is just to get that appeal in. And can I ask the question that comes with that? What's the timing, given the huge backlog in that tribunal?
Through your worship to members of council, at this point in time, we wouldn't have that information. We would certainly hope, though, once the paperwork is in and we've had a chance to sort of take a look, that we can at least give some timing as to when the first stage would be able to advance. But again, those details, we would greatly appreciate the opportunity to work through that and return to council.
And Councillor Dennis, I'll take yours as a notice of motion for that meeting we're going to hold in January, February.
Yes, sir.
So I got Councillor Gillis, and I'll take any other questions before I look for a motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. With regard to the actual appeal itself, do we have the opportunity to separate out? And I'm looking at the section that was deleted or said to delete from the planner at the county, and it's 5.9.1, and it has to do with Area 3 that they've defined as. Or can we, or should we, leave it as a whole to work through any minor things that might be there, not just with there, but with the whole appeal? And I heard Ms. Farfor say that there were other parts within the official plan, that our official plan that we put forward, that would be subject to review as well. Am I correct? Or did I hear that wrong?
Through your worship to members of council, all items that have been directed through the notice of motion, or the decision of the county rather, would be eligible for consideration under that appeal. And again, all of those issues can certainly be worked through with council as part of that discussion around where does council want to go with this in February.
So all this will be brought back to you with the options.
Sorry, as a follow-up, there are many appellants as well that want to appeal this decision. Do they make those entirely on their own?
For your worship to members of council, anybody looking to appeal the plan should certainly seek their own legal counsel and legal advice in terms of their next steps.
Thank you. Can I just, one other observation for those interested in this. You need to turn your attention to the County of Lambton. You really do, if you don't like this decision, it's out of the control of the city at this point, except for some action, so it's the county that we need to focus on. And actually, I met and talked to the CEO of the county just half an hour ago to talk about the process on doing that. So if people do have concerns, they should express them directly to the county. It's their official plan, it's their ruling. I want to keep this council in its place as to you've done all the things you needed to do, and you've done that. And as those who were on council during this last term know, it was an exhaustive process to go through, and a very expensive one. So let's get these options back in front of us, and let's see what we can do from there. Any further comments before I look for a motion? Councillor Kilner?
Thank you, Your Worship. Couple of questions that I have. So, interested parties outside of the city, folks listed in the document here as well, they are also eligible. Is it my understanding that they're also eligible to make an appeal?
Everyone is eligible.
Everyone is
wishes to do
eligible.
that.
Okay, thank you. So this appeal simply gives us extra time to address the issues. That's essentially what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just go ahead.
Your Worship, the decision is to approve the appeal, and then the final decision will work out later on when another report comes in. Am I right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I get a motion on the floor now? Councillor Dennis?
I move the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder? Roberts? Any further discussion? And I would suggest when this comes back that we maybe do it outside of the regular council meeting process. The amount of information and all those things. All right, let me call the vote then. All in favor? And okay. And online, we have Councillor Gillis and Councillor Vandenberg. Okay, so it's unanimous to move forward on this appeal. Thank you, everyone, and everyone have a Merry Christmas. Appreciate it. Oh, and please, clerk's reminding we need to pass the bylaw. The bylaw to enable the actions of this meeting. Okay, seconder, Councillor Boucher, okay. All in favor? That's unanimous also. Thank you, everyone, and again, have a good Christmas.